Welcome back to Dry Hollow Homestead. This is Danielle. We are in the kitchen making a traditional cheddar today. So in my cheese pot, I have 6.5 gallons of whole milk, raw milk from my cow. We are heating that up to 88 degrees. And then once you are there at 88 degrees, you turn your stove off. My element just got turned off. I'm giving it a good stir, making sure that it is fully warmed to 88. Then I'm going to add my culture. For this, I'm actually using 1 cup of backsplash whey from a previous mesophilic cheese that I had made. You can also use a mesophilic culture. You would want to use 1 teaspoon of mesophilic culture if you got a packet like I'm going to have linked below. Once you have those, you can extend the life of them so much just by saving your backsplash whey. Now, you don't want to use whey that's already been salted. You want that to be your first whey, like if you're pulling it off from a Gouda, which I have another video on that one. So you mix that in, that culture, in an up-down motion. Any cheese making book will tell you it's an up-down. You want to get it from the top to the bottom of your pot, large pot. I guess that makes sense, right? And then you're going to let that sit covered for 40 minutes. So this 40 minutes is up. We are going to actually add our rennet. So that is in a 1/4 cup of water, 1 teaspoon of rennet. I'll also link rennet in the description box below. And then you're going to mix that in, up and down. Now the rennet is what's going to make it coagulate into a mass. And that's going to set for 30 minutes after we have stirred it in with the lid on. And I'll have all these directions in the description box below this video. And please ask me if you need any advice. I would love to show you what I know. I don't know everything, but I've really enjoyed making lots of cheeses. So let this now set for 30 minutes, and we're going to be looking for a clean break when we come back. A clean break would just mean that you put your finger into the mass, and if it cuts across evenly, then it's clean break. See, in a straight line. Yep. It would be really mushy and jagged if it was not a clean break, and you would just give it more time. You would let it set for another 5 to 10 minutes and come back. So my knife does not reach the bottom unless some of the handle gets swallowed up a little bit. So this is how I have to cut. I'm actually cutting these into 1-inch cubes. So you would go in one direction, and then you're going to go in the other direction. Now, traditional cheddar, it takes a little bit more time to do the cheddaring process, the actual cheddaring process, but I love this cheese, and it only gets better with time, with age. And when you're aging things in the fridge, which is what I do, I vacuum seal and then age them in the fridge. The more time you give it, the better. So I've went in both directions, and then I kind of go at a 45-degree angle from both sides. This is my best attempt at making them even. It's not ever and it works just fine. Makes delicious cheese. And so we're going to let that set for 5 minutes. That lets them kind of toughen up so that they can handle the stirring without completely becoming mush. So this is after the 5 minutes. I'm putting my thermometer back in because we are going to turn this up on almost medium heat to heat this mass to 100 degrees. And we want that to take up to for 45 minutes. So you want it slowly to heat to 100, taking 45 minutes, stirring carefully. Oh, that was fast. And then you're going to let it set for 40 minutes after you've stirred for 45 minutes and scoop off the whey until you get down to the curds. And I do this in my mesh colander you see there. And I have another stainless steel pot there. I'm actually catching most of that whey, and I make a ricotta with that. I did not put that in this video, but I was just trying it out, seeing if my family enjoys ricotta, and we made lasagna, so that was delicious. So I'm scooping out all that whey, or scooping out all the curds and putting it on top of that mesh colander, setting on top of another stainless steel pot, dumping down until I have about 2 to 3 inches of whey in my large cheese pot. Then I'm putting that stainless steel colander back on top. And then I let that set for 10 minutes, just like that. This is when we're getting that acidification that is cheddar cheese, the cheddaring process. And we flip that curd mass. And while I have that curd on top in that colander, I have the heat up on almost medium so that it is steaming this mass of curds on top in the colander. So it has been 10 minutes. We have already flipped it the one time. So we are actually going to cut this curd mass into fourths. And I will show you how I do that. You can see there's steam coming up. That way that it left at the bottom, about 2 to 3 inches of way at the bottom, is very hot. And that is what's making, this is why it's called a traditional cheddar. This is how you do that. So we are actually going to flip these curds after we have cut them into fourths. So each and every side will get a 10-minute steam bath. There's a lot of science to this. This is just how I know you do it. And it's not because I'm pulling it out of thin air. I have plenty of cheese books that say this. So this is our last flip. So we are actually going to turn this mass all the way over at this point, all 4 of them. And that has been 10 minutes each time. And I cover it. You want that steam to be able to reach them. This all adds to the acidification of the cheddar. So then we put them out on a cutting board. You should have 4 big chunks like that. We're actually going to cut these into about 1 inch, what would you call it? A French fry size. I would say cut the curds, into blocks about the French fries size, like 3 inches by 1/2 inches. This is what I'm doing here. Yeah, like French fries, big chunks of French fries or wedges or something. That is what I'm doing. And then adding them to a big bowl. We're going to do that with all of them. And then we're going to add our salt. This process between the colander on top of the whey that's heating up and the lid being on top and then being flipped and steamed on all sides, and then this process of cutting them like that, and then we're going to add the salt. This is cheddaring. This is traditionally cheddar. There's lots of shortcuts to make it taste similar, but this is how you make a cheddar. So we are going to toss in the salt after we get these all French fried up. And that's going to be 4 tablespoons of salt. I'm using that Kirkland pink Himalayan sea salt, which I use all the time. And we're going to mix those with our fingers into our, toss them. Toss all these little French fries of curds. If you eat it right now, this is cheese curds that you would buy. Like, people sell cheese curds. That's what this is. It's at this stage that they're cheese curds that you would buy. Cheddar you can eat at any stage, but the longer it goes, the sharper it is. So you mix those and you just toss them with the salt. And then I have on boil is my kettle to sanitize my cheesecloth and my press. Now, traditional cheddar is notoriously hard to press because they have been through this process. They are hard to press. So you're going to use a lot of muscle, and you can see how mine turn out in a few minutes. But it's always lopsided. I don't know if this just means I'm a very special person that I can always get mine crooked or what. But yeah, they're going to be very squeaky curds. I mean, obviously curds. But they need to be pressed very firmly. So once you get them in your press, you're going to press them on firm pressure for 30 minutes. And then you flip it and have it on firm pressure overnight. Now, because this has the salt in it, you don't have to do a salt bath or salt brine, which is awesome. Salt brines are not my favorite. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I enjoy making the cheddar process. And if I can't fit in the cheddar, all the curds that I have, these are delicious snacks. My kids usually really like it when I don't have enough room and they can have the curds, but I believe I have enough this time to have enough. I've squeezed them mostly in this time. So what I do, like I said, how I age these, I don't have a wine fridge or anything. I actually just age these in my refrigerator, our normal refrigerator, and just in the back. It takes longer because the temperature is lower, but I would rather have it take longer than to have them go bad on me. And so that works well. I would love to learn how to make my cellar work for us, and maybe one day we will, but I don't want to take any chances. As of now, this is how I end up doing this. So this is after the first press. I'm taking the cheese out of the press, and I never get this straight, never. And sometimes these bolts are kind of annoying to take off, but oh yeah, I can see what a wonderful even press I've given. I don't know what's up with why I always do that, but yep, see, you can see the top. It still needs, yeah, cheddar is always hard to press. You really have to have very firm pressure in order to knit those curds together because of the cheddaring process. So do your best. And because I am vacuum sealing and aging this in the fridge, and by the way, you can eat cheddar whenever. The longer it goes, the better. So I suggest 3 months, but you can eat it whenever you want. Cheddar is delicious in all forms and stages, but the longer you go, the sharper it will be, which is what I prefer. So 6 months to a year, oh, that would be perfect. We don't really have a whole lot of patience. Okay, what am I doing over there? Oh, come back. I'm making dulce de leche in my copper pot there, which is just milk and sugar. It's like a sweetened condensed milk. I was trying to make pumpkin pies. I was on the mission to make homemade pumpkin pies, and I needed sweetened condensed milk. So I'm back here. This is going to be firm pressure overnight, and we will see what it looks like when we come back. When we come back. There we go. So this is the next day. Next morning, I am going to take it out of the press, and then we are going to air dry on the counter before we vacuum seal and put in the fridge. So we need it to air dry until, they usually say, a clammy handshake, just a little bit drier than a clammy handshake. It looks beautiful. I do have a little bit of, there's a couple places that weren't pressed great. There's a little bit of space, but because we're doing that vacuum seal, it is not a big deal. There's no contaminant like it would be if we were waxing and trying to store it. It's beautiful. Cheddar. So now this is how I vacuum seal. I just make myself a bag and walk away. Oh, yes, Sharpie. Yes, we need a Sharpie to write on there. Please write what it is. I'll write the date and how long it needs to age. Before you stick in the fridge, they will start to look a little bit alike. You will not remember. I think jalapenos would be awesome to add to a cheddar. I never think about it when I'm doing cheddar for some reason, maybe because it's just a little more labor intensive. But that would be delicious. Any other ideas? Tell me in the comments below what you've added to cheddar. Cheddar is one of our favorite. It is my absolute favorite, and it's so versatile. I can use it on anything. But I did make that ricotta with the whey, and it turned out wonderful. I just made lasagna with that and homemade mozzarella and our pizza sauce that I had made the other day. So that turned out delicious. Well, I don't really know yet. We haven't eaten it, but it looks delicious. So always label. Remind yourself later. Hey, subscribe if you enjoyed this content. See ya.